Hi folks, I'm Gary Ryan, creator of the Yes for Success program and the online course. I'm glad to be here with you to explain what the course is and also to answer all of your queries because you're curious. That's why you're here. You've landed here because you're curious. You've got some questions about your future, and what you'd like to do is raise your confidence, your absolute confidence about what your future is going to be. And that's the beauty of the Yes for Success program. It's an online course that's going to help you to clarify what your future means to you. So each of us has a unique definition for our future, but there are 6 core elements that once we've got clarity around those 6 core elements will help us understand what our future is. Now, clearly we're also having to come from our past and our present. And what we want to do is equally understand what are the things that are in our present reality that we want to carry forward into our future. We want to carry these things forward into our future. So this isn't about throwing everything away in your life right now. It's gaining clarity about what do I actually want my future to look like, and then enabling you to have a higher degree of certainty about what you're going to do. So what do I mean by certainty? Well, when the pandemic came, in the first 5 days of the pandemic starting, 90% of my business stopped and walked out of the door, or at least got paused. It's like, holy moly. Now you might say, how could you be certain in that circumstance? Well, I was certain because of having done this work for myself plenty of times over. And you need to know that I practice what I preach, right? You need to know that, because why should you buy something off me? Why should you invest in yourself from me if I don't do this myself? But coming back to this work situation is I knew that I would say to myself, what's the opportunity, Gary? What's the opportunity? I knew. I didn't know the pandemic was going to come, but I know that when things shock me, are strange and not what I expect, I know that I've trained myself to say, okay, I didn't expect this. What's the opportunity? Now, the opportunity was to write my book, which became an Amazon Kindle bestseller. And of course, that's then ended up feeding back into the business, and the business is up and booming again, right? I knew that would happen. I didn't know how long it would take, but I knew it would happen. You see, I've been married for 25 years and coming up to my 26th wedding anniversary with my beautiful wife, Michelle. And I can promise you, I love Michelle more than I did on the day that we even got married. And by the way, when Michelle first heard that I was interested in her, she told her close friends that she wouldn't come within 40 meters of me. That's 120 feet, folks, for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere. She said, I'm not going within 40 meters of him. We have 5 incredible children together, and we both love each other more than ever. I knew that I was going to persuade her to fall in love with me because I was already in love with her literally at first sight. Now, equally, I have people that I coached in senior football in the 1990s, 1996 through to the end of 1999. I can promise you that they love me and I love them 24 years later after that experience. That's the sort of connections that we built from a relationship point of view. And what I practice is what I preach. The clients that I have, so many of them have been clients for more than 10 years in the 17 years of my business. I've been fortunate that in my business, we've generated over $6.5 million of revenue during that period of time because I have to be able to afford my future, okay? I have invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in my own learning. So when it comes to education and learning, I've actually invested more in my learning than I did in my 3 degrees. And I'm not even talking about the time, folks. Just last week, in one of my clients, one of the participants said to me, so Gary, do you have a coach? And I said, yes. And then she followed up with, how much does it cost you? Everyone else in the room went, oh, that's a rude question. I said, that's a brilliant question. Thank you for asking me. I have spent in this financial year $40,000 on my own coaching. And she's like, thank you. I just wanted to see if you practice what you preached. What a fair question. What a great question. And I do practice what I preach. You get, when you get access to the Yes for Success program, you get the benefit of the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I have invested in my development that I'm able to share with you with what I know about creating success in all aspects of your life. If you're not sure about your career, if you're not sure where you want to be going, the Yes for Success program is going to help you to get clarity about the types of characteristics of the future that you want to have in your career, so that you can have confidence in taking the steps to create it. Now, a big part of creating success is understanding who you are yourself, understanding your values, understanding your strengths. These are such powerful things, is that when you are clear about your strengths, you need to keep getting strong at them. You need to learn other things, but you also need to get super awesome at identifying the strengths in other human beings who are strong in the things that you're not strong in. And once you know to do that and you realize that that's not a bad thing, it's a strength to recognize the things that you're not strong in and tap into other human beings' strengths. It's a strength to be able to do that. And when you do that, it's amazing things start to happen. Amazing things start to happen. I mean, one of the clients who's participated in this program had a mental block about using online dating to potentially find a life partner. And this particular client many years ago had said, look, I don't want to do it. I've had these failed relationships. I do want to be married and in love one day. And we went through and we unpacked the mindset about, I refuse to do this particular element. Now, I didn't know if that element would work. In fact, I've never actually used that element myself. I didn't need to, because Michelle and I have been together. But in this particular instance, I said, it seems like for a lot of people this can work. You know, why are you blocking it out? And she said, maybe I should consider it. I said, I'm not telling you to do anything. It's your life. You work this out. But you're saying you want to have a life partner, but you're not meeting anyone. How's that going to happen? How's it going to happen? And so she decided, I found out later, she decided that she would give it a go. The third date in is, to this day, many years later, her husband and father of their two amazing, incredible children. One of my other coaching clients at the moment is being successful in getting a job 3 levels higher than her existing job because of the unpacking of her mind and the belief and the confidence. You know what? I can do these jobs. She doesn't have the right degree. She doesn't have the right qualification, but she has the right experience. And she's prepared to go and do that studies while she's got the job. And she's telling people that, hey, if that's so important to you, I'll go and do those studies on top of me doing this full-time job. I'll go and do that. But you want to engage me right now. And it's happened, folks. Because of the clarity, the confidence, the understanding. You see, as you get certain about what you're going to do, your confidence raises, and that just oozes out of you. In fact, it infects the people around you in a positive way. And it's not about just manifesting an idea about the future. It's about creating the future. You see on that balance wheel there, you have to do some work. You've got to actually work out, what is my life that I want going to cost? What do I understand about money now? Like, building your financial literacy is essential for you to be able to work out how to carry whatever financial understanding you've got now. Maybe let some of it go, adopt some new financial understanding so that you can in fact afford and pay for the future that you want. Otherwise, it's just a dream. Every single one of us human beings lives with a financial reality. And some people have said to me, oh, Gary, that's not true because monks in Asia, they don't have an income. I say, oh, don't they? I say, have you ever walked past a wat in any of the temples throughout Asia? And they sometimes say yes, sometimes they say no. I said, well, I have. And when they're standing at the front, they have their bowls, and it's called alms. And people put money in that bowl, people put food in those bowls, and often they'll put clothing and even bedding over the top of those bowls. And whether it's spoken or not, there's an economic deal going on there, folks. The local community has basically got an agreement with the monks that if you look after the temple and if you give us blessings, we will give you money enough so that you can survive in this modern world. We'll certainly feed you, and we'll give you clothing and bedding so that you are warm in the cold winter months. That's an economic deal, folks. So there's all different ways. A lot of us through the Yes for Success program, we actually understand that you have to unpack the way you think the world works. It isn't a lot of what you've been told from your parents. You actually can have some control. not just some, but a lot of control and build certainty over the future that you want. If you've been told you have to be a doctor and you don't want to be a doctor, then don't be a doctor. But you can actually bring your future together to the surface 1,000 different ways. You can bring your future to the surface 1,000 different ways, folks. So what do I mean by that? For those of you in Australia, particularly the southern states of Australia, you would understand what I'm going to say, that someone of my generation, I wanted to be a VFL, a Victorian Football League star. Nowadays, an AFL star. But unfortunately, I wasn't born with great skill levels. My brothers and others were, but I wasn't. And I played semi-professional football, and I got paid to coach in football as a coach and a player. I was very, very fortunate for that to happen. But I never made the so-called top league, and I was nowhere near it, as people that saw me play would know. But using my leadership capabilities, using my communication skills, I have stood in the middle of the Melbourne cricket ground with over 80,000 people in the stands, being paid for my professional skills to deliver leadership to an AFL team. And I remember standing there pinching myself, looking around the stadium full of people, going, wow, I did it, but in a different way. I made that dream come possible in a different way. And you can too. I've run 11 marathons, folks, from a health and fitness point of view. And I remember when I made that decision to start running marathons, and I picked the New York Marathon because I decided, if I'm going to even just do one, then I might as well do the biggest and the best. And at the time, people said, you know, Gary, you can't actually just turn up to that, you know that? I said, oh, can't you? Oh, well, I'm sure there's a way to get in. And I found a way. There was a company called Travelling Fit here in Australia that had 150 tickets that in the February of the year in which you were going to run, which is in November, in that February, if you paid your $500 US, you booked your ticket and you were in, if you were in the first 150 people that could get those tickets from them. So I made sure that I was. And I ran that marathon. And I finished it in 4 hours, 9 minutes and 59 seconds. 1 second ahead of my specific time that I'd set. I had a time range of between 4 and 4.5 hours, but I'd said, gee, if I can do 4 hours and 10 minutes, that would be awesome for my first one. I beat it by 1 second, folks. Right? And then I ran another 11 marathons after that. Now, clearly, it's not about marathon running. It's about when you set your mind to something. And because before I just started to run marathons, I had never run more than 10 kilometers. And in fact, I didn't really even enjoy it. In fact, for that first marathon, the first year and a half of training, I didn't even really enjoy the training that I did for a year and a half. And then one day it kicked in. And I loved it. Now, I've had both of my hips replaced. When I got to this decade of my life, I discovered that I was born, it had nothing to do with marathons, it had nothing to do with any of the other activities I do, but I discovered that I was born with bad hips. It's like, wow, another shock, another surprise. So through this period of the pandemic, I've had both of my hips replaced. And I can promise you that in both instances, by the time I got to the 6th week of my recovery post-surgery, I was already walking 10,000 steps a day. And as I sit here now, it's 15 weeks since the last one has been replaced. And I'm already doing 15,000 steps per day quite comfortably. Because I knew I would get back moving. Yes, there's certain things I can't run again for my future. I can't be kicking balls. I've had to change some of the things with my children and how I'm involved with their sport, but I've changed that up. I'm still involved though. I'm bringing and manifesting 1,000 different ways to bring the future that I want into my life. And so can you. So if you're sitting there and you're concerned about the investment required in this, again, I can promise you, I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sometimes when I didn't have the money, absolutely, I did not have the money, but I invested in myself because an investment means a return. When you think of what that future that you're aiming for is worth to you, honestly, this is not much. This is nothing really in comparison to you delivering on and creating the future that you want. Right? Now, some people have said, but the price is going up all the time. Well, yes, it is. Yes, it is. But the price is not the issue. The issue for you is do you want to get more confident? Do you want to get more clarity about your future? And when things come along that you don't expect, which they will, Do you want to have confidence that you can still take action that's going to continue to bring that future that you want together in your life? In fact, often when the strange things, the hard things, the difficult things come into your life, one of the beauties of it is it gets you to go, do I really want that future I thought I wanted? If the answer is yes, it just builds more commitment to the action to create it and make it happen. And if the answer is no, that's fine too. You change it, you redefine it, and you get committed to that outcome and you take your actions. Like, folks, one of the things about you doing this program is you are saying loud and clear, I do not want to be average. I do not want to be like everyone else. Now, maybe that's a terrible thing for me to say that there's a lot of average people out there, but I'm sorry, there are a lot of people that are just waiting for someone else to come along and change their life. But they can change their life. They can change their life in whatever way they want if they get some clarity around what they want in the future, and then get some certainty about the actions that they have to take ownership of that, and get on and do the actions and create the future. Right? Make it happen. Now, let's turn our attention to how the Yes for Success online program works. Here's a short explainer video.
You know, life balance is complex. You have to juggle your career with relationships with family, friends and colleagues, with earning enough money to afford the lifestyle that you desire, with understanding who you are and how to leverage your personal strengths and manage your weaknesses, with making sure that you can learn everything that you need to know to survive and thrive in this fast-paced world that we live in. Trying to balance all these things seems way too complex. So much so that 98% of the people I have worked with have never tried to put it into practice prior to working with me. That's actually the beauty of planning for and executing life balance. It doesn't have to be judged over a day, a week or a month. Life balance should be judged over a year. Yes, that means that for periods throughout a year, your life will appear to be out of balance. Maybe you have university exams, or maybe you have a sick relative, or have an extremely busy period completing a work project or a community project. The list of things that can keep you busy is literally endless. Planning to have life balance over a year makes it doable, providing of course that you have a plan and you have someone there to support you and help you while you're executing your plan. Other platforms try to convince you that happiness is all in the future. With Yes for Success, I help you to identify the things that make you happy now, as well as identifying what actions you need to take to increase the happiness that you will experience in the future. Yes for Success is an online platform where you can establish a plan that defines what life balance and personal success mean for you so that you can lead the life that you desire. Having tested the structure of the Yes for Success platform with over 5,900 people in face-to-face workshops to rave reviews, I know that the structure of this program really works.
So once again, folks, click the button, join the course. Once you're in, you'll get access to our private Facebook group, in which there's a community of like-minded people like you, where we are sharing our victories and wins along the way and helping anyone if there's any confusion around some of the content. There's a community of people helping you make sense of that. So once again, I'm Gary Ryan, the creator of the Yes for Success program, and I look forward to you joining us inside the Yes for Success online course, and I also look forward to welcoming you to our private Facebook group. Thank you.